Hello, and welcome to a very special episode of New World Now. 2017 is an exciting year for New World Library because we are turning 40. And to celebrate, we recently released a new 40th anniversary edition of Creative Visualization by Shakti Gawain, which is the book that first put us on the map as an independent publisher on the leading edge of personal growth and global change. It all began in the kitchen of a small apartment in Oakland, California, when Shakti and Mark Allen had an inspired vision. They decided to start a publishing company to get the books and pamphlets they were writing out into the world. It was a shoestring operation that started with very little capital and extremely minimal sales. But all that changed with the publication of Creative Visualization, which experienced strong word-of-mouth sales right from the start. And then in the early 1980s, Oprah Winfrey invited Shakti to be a guest on her yet-to-be-syndicated television show. When the Oprah Winfrey Show went national in 1986 and re-aired Shakti's interview, Creative Visualization was on its way to the international bestseller status it enjoys today, with over 7 million copies sold worldwide. This book is about learning to use your natural creative imagination in a more and more conscious way as a technique to create what you truly want, writes Shakti. The use of creative visualization gives us a key to tap into the goodness and bounty of life. While I am sad to report that our beloved Shakti is not currently doing interviews due to some extremely choppy waters that she's been navigating with regards to her personal health, I felt it was important to honor her and the amazing contribution her work offers as far as helping us create a new world now by featuring her here on this podcast. I recorded the following interview with Shakti in 2012, shortly after we published the 25th anniversary edition of another one of her bestsellers, Living in the Light. Around that same time is when she was diagnosed with a form of Parkinson's disease and realized that as much as she loves teaching, guiding, and helping us all, that the time had come for her to turn her focus inward and to use the many tools and practices she shared with so many of us over the years for her own self-healing. I recently had the opportunity to be with Shakti in person, and while I know her decision to step out of the public eye has been a difficult one, it makes me happy to know that, as always, she's walking her talk by doing what she needs to do to take care of herself. As you listen to this interview, I hope you'll join with me in visualizing a happy and healthy Shakti surrounded by love and light. In fact, I can't think of a more suitable way for us to express our appreciation and gratitude for her amazing work than by using our powers of creative visualization in this way. I'd also like to encourage you to email Shakti a personal note that expresses your love, encouragement, and gratitude for who she is in the world. The best email for that is shakti@newworldlibrary.com. My plan is to print out all of the emails I receive and to share them with her on a regular basis so she can have a direct experience of all of the love, light, and appreciation that exists for her in the world. And now, I hope you'll enjoy this pre-recorded interview I had the pleasure of doing with Shakti Gawain in 2012. So it's been 35 years since you and Mark Allen first started New World Library. Did you ever imagine when you first started where this path would lead?
I really didn't. I had no idea. I was in my 20s. I'd graduated from college with a degree in dance, which wasn't going to really do much for me because I wasn't good enough to be a professional dancer. I'd done some traveling. I actually ended up traveling all around the world on kind of a shoestring, as a lot of us were doing in those days. And when I got back to my home in the San Francisco Bay Area, I realized that I was on some kind of path that had to do with me learning and developing myself as a person and discovering what my gifts are to share with people in the world. And I just was really following my intuitive feeling, although at that time I didn't even know that much about intuition, but that's what I was doing. And one day I went to a workshop because, of course, I was reading all the metaphysical books and going to the workshops. And in a workshop on creative visualization, the teacher had us write out, our expectations or our visions for next year, and then for 5 years, and then for 10 years. And I remember thinking, how do I know what I'm going to be doing in 5 years? My gosh, that seems like forever, you know. Well, when I did the exercise, I actually wrote each thing for each of those years. I was shocked and amazed because this entire vision came to me that I really had no idea about. Writing books, leading workshops, traveling around the world, and all those things. And that's what has happened. That's what came about.
So it was really meant to be.
It was really meant to be.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. And then Creative Visualization, which is an international bestseller now, was the book that started it all. So how did Creative Visualization come to be?
Well, at that point, my friend Mark Allen and I were leading workshops and imparting to people the things that we were learning that we were excited about. One of them being the technique of creative visualization, which is basically just being able to imagine something that you really want to such a real state that you actually help bring it into being in your life. And I was using that in my life for everything. Need a new apartment? Okay, I'll visualize that. Want to feel greater self-esteem? Okay, I can visualize that. You can use it for so many things. So I was all excited about that, and what I wanted to share it with people. And I was leading workshops at that point, so I decided I would write a little booklet, just a little, with a few of these ideas in it that we were learning. And so I sat down and I started writing, and I was really inspired and, really working on it for a while. And then something happened, and I just stopped. I got blocked, and I couldn't write anymore. And I realized that there was a part of me that was saying to me, who do you think you are? I mean, I had just begun all this work. Really, I was in just the first few years of this kind of self-discovery. And I thought, oh my gosh, that's true. Well, who do I think I am that I would have, things to impart to people that would be useful and valuable to them? So I stopped. And I stopped for several months. And really what's interesting is what got me going again was the fact that I had actually sent out a little message to my people on my mailing list saying that I was going to have this little booklet that would be available at a certain time, and they could send in $5, and I would send it to them when I got it done. So a few people sent me $5, and then I wasn't working on the book, and I started to feel so guilty that I said, I sent them word and said, I'll send your money back if you want. And they all basically responded, no, just keep it and send us the booklet when it's done. So I felt guilt was a perfect motivator for me at this point, which just goes to show you that anything in life can motivate us. Because then I really felt like, okay, I've got to get this done and send this to these poor people. So I did that, and I did finish it, and I did feel good about it. And we didn't even try to do anything with a big publisher. We just sort of decided to do our own publishing. And so I borrowed $1,000 from my mom so we could print up the books. And I took them around to the bookstores in our area. In those days, you could just do that, take them and put them on consignment. And the book began to sell, and gradually, as an underground book, and then just kept on for the last 40 years now.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It's amazing.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of writers out there who would give anything to have touched as many lives with their writing as you have. And I'm wondering if you have any advice for aspiring writers who might be, stuck like you were at one point, or who are having a hard time getting going on their project.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I want to say I am so grateful that this path has been given to me. I never would have known and never would have visualized it. Although I do realize that when I was a kid, I loved the library. I loved books. And I used to imagine that there was a whole shelf full of books written by me. Only they were horse books, because that's what I was into at that time. But I realized years later, looking back, it was a creative visualization of what I wanted to do. But I forgot all about it and didn't think of it again until after I'd written my first book.
Wow.
So,
so for writers
I would say really, really see if you can just write for yourself. not thinking about what that person will think or what this person will think or even what your own inner critic's going to think, but just try to write what's really sincere and right for you, for yourself, and not necessarily that it's going to go out in the world. And then if and when it's meant to do that, that can happen.
Yeah. And you talk about being a consciousness teacher rather than a spiritual teacher. Mm-hmm. Can you talk a little bit about the distinction between those two things?
For me, the word consciousness embraces all aspects of who we are. We're all on a path of consciousness, learning to just be more aware of what we're feeling, what we're experiencing, how we're interacting with the world, and embracing all aspects of ourselves, learning to love all the parts of who we are.
And then how does that compare with spiritualist, just a spiritual approach?
Well, to me, the spiritual energy is one aspect of who we are. The consciousness that we're developing is the whole picture. And one slice of that pie, one part of that is the spiritual aspect of who we are. But I see it as a particular energy that, that we need, and that's really wonderful and important, that links us to that higher self or that deeper self or whatever you want to call it, soulful self. Yeah. But consciousness embraces it all. Spirituality exists within the consciousness. Mm-hmm. And our job here is to embrace all that, spiritual and otherwise.
Right. So New World Library recently published the 25th anniversary edition of your bestseller, Living in the Light. And in that book, you talk about how living in the light is really about exploring the deep places within us and shining the light of our consciousness into them. Can you talk a little bit about what that means?
Yes. All of us have learned in the course of our life how best to take care of ourselves, and how we need to take care of ourselves physically, emotionally, mentally depends on our life situation. But we all evolve into our adulthood with certain characteristics that are definitely like my personality. So, for example, if you're a very responsible, hardworking, busy person like I am, and a lot of us are, that's wonderful, and we can create a lot in our lives that way. But if we're too busy and too responsible and don't have enough of the opposite side, which would be the ability to relax and slow down and nurture yourself from time to time, at least, if we don't know how to do that, then we're living our lives out of balance, and it gets more and more difficult to do that as we go along. So what my work is all about is about learning to really embrace and take care of all those parts of us and let them all have their space and time while we're still consciously holding them. So that, to me, that the parts of ourselves that we are less known, the primary selves are the ones that we know about in ourselves. The disowned selves are often the parts of ourselves that we even don't know about, or we think they're not very good or bad, or we've been told don't be like that, or don't show those feelings, or don't do that. And those become our disowned selves. And that's what is often called the shadow. And that can sound kind of scary, but it really isn't. It's really just the pieces of ourselves that we haven't learned to love yet. So this is about learning to love all the parts of ourselves, even the parts that we think aren't very lovable. Turns out we need them all.
And if you were going to offer one practice or exercise that people can do in their lives to be on this path of consciousness and be more connected, what would you suggest?
It's hard to choose because there are so many, but I think I would have to say that what I consider to be the basic process for getting in touch with your intuitive inner wisdom, which is what living in the light is all about. It's very simple. You just sit down or lie down, relax, let yourself go inside. And if you have any question or a problem or issue or just wanting more, and if there's anything you really want, ask that in that deep, wise place. Ask for what you need. Like, give me more clarity about my work situation or anything that you want. What do I need to do in my relationship, and so forth. And it can be very simple. And you just do that. And after you then open your eyes and come back and start doing whatever you're doing, just let your awareness of that deep process be there.
Yeah.
So, and it's practice. Practice makes perfect. Learning to follow your intuition isn't really that hard, but it does take some practice and sometimes some real support.
Right. So, I remember you once saying that if we checked our emails, or we checked our intuitive messages often as we checked our emails, that we'd all be in really great shape.
Exactly.
I love that.
Yeah. Except even then, when I was talking about that, I was thinking of answering machines. Now we've got email.
Yeah. Yeah.
Personally, I still write my books in pencil, in longhand.
Yeah.
I'm just an old-fashioned person, I guess.
Yeah. So, not only is New World Library 35 years older since this whole journey began, but you are as well. And so I'm curious how the aging process factors into this work and kind of what you've learned along the way as far as that goes.
Well, it's shocking. Absolutely shocking. I don't know who thought this up, but aging is really challenging, and I just never thought it was going to happen to me. But lo and behold, it does. And fortunately, it does tend to bring a certain amount of wisdom and understanding and deep depth of connection with life. And anything that we haven't yet really worked through starts coming up in later life. The things that we haven't got to yet, they begin to call our attention, like our bodies saying, maybe you need to not push me so much anymore. Maybe I need more time to, rest and recuperate or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. And so it's in a way, it's like those disowned selves, or if you're a real active person, then you really have no choice but to get to know your more disowned selves.
And because in our culture, we are so identified with action and production and doing and making things happen, nothing wrong with any of that. But if we don't have that opposite side access to it, to be able to nurture ourselves and have being time, we're very good at doing in our culture. Most of us are not so good at being in a nurturing way. So that's what often life is bringing us in our older age, just the different qualities that we haven't developed yet, and now it's time to.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. What a wonderful way of looking at it. Yeah.
It helps.
Yeah.
Shakti is such a blessing, and I hope that you enjoyed our conversation as much as I enjoyed having it with her. In the time that we have left, I thought it would be fun to share a couple of clips from the Creative Visualization audiobook, which was recorded by Shakti in 1979, so many moons ago. And we'll start with a short description from Shakti about what creative visualization is.
Creative visualization is the technique of using your imagination to create what you want in your life. There is nothing at all new, strange, or unusual about creative visualization. You are already using it every day, every minute, in fact. It is your natural power of imagination, the basic creative energy of the universe which you use constantly whether or not you are aware of it. In the past, many of us have used our power of creative visualization in a relatively unconscious way. Because of our own deep-seated negative concepts about life, we have automatically and unconsciously expected and imagined lack, limitation, difficulties, and problems to be our lot in life. To one degree or another, that is what we have created for ourselves. This book is about learning to use your natural creative imagination in a more and more conscious way, as a technique to create what you truly want: love, fulfillment, enjoyment, satisfying relationships, rewarding work, self-expression, health, beauty, prosperity, inner peace and harmony, whatever your heart desires.
And here, Shakti gives us some brief instructions into how we can begin to use creative visualization in our own lives.
Imagination is the ability to create an idea, a mental picture, or a feeling sense of something. In creative visualization, you use your imagination to create a clear image, idea, or feeling of something you wish to manifest. Then you continue to focus on the idea, feeling, or picture regularly, giving it positive energy until it becomes objective reality. In other words, until you actually achieve what you have been imagining. Your goal may be on any level, physical, emotional, mental, or spiritual. You might imagine yourself with a new home, or with a new job, or having a satisfying relationship, or feeling calm and serene, or perhaps with an improved memory and learning ability. Or you might picture yourself handling a difficult situation effortlessly, or simply see yourself as a radiant being filled with light and love. You can work on any level and all will have results. Through experience, you will find the particular images and techniques that work best for you. Let us say, for example, that you are feeling unsatisfied in your current job situation. If you feel that the job is basically right for you, but there are factors that need improvement, you could begin by imagining the improvements that you desire. If that doesn't work, or if you feel that you would prefer a new job, then focus on imagining yourself in the employment situation that you desire. Either way, the technique is basically the same. After relaxing into a deep, quiet, meditative state of mind, imagine that you are working in your ideal job situation. Imagine yourself in the physical setting or environment that you would like, doing work that you enjoy and find satisfying, interacting with people in a harmonious way, receiving appreciation and appropriate financial compensation. Add any other details that are important for you, such as the hours you work, the amount of autonomy and/or responsibility you have, and so on. Try to get a feeling in yourself that this is possible. Experience it as if it were already happening. In short, imagine it exactly the way you'd like it to be as if it were already so. Repeat this short, simple exercise often, perhaps twice a day, or whenever you think about it. If your desire and intention to make a change are clear, chances are good that you may find some type of shift taking place in your work fairly soon. It should be noted here that this technique cannot be used to control the behavior of others or cause them to do something against their will. Its effect is to dissolve our internal barriers to natural harmony and self-realization, allowing everyone to manifest in his or her most positive aspect.
And finally, in this last clip from the end of creative visualization, Shakti reminds us that we all have a significant contribution to make in this time of great transformation on our planet.
A basic need of all human beings is to make a positive contribution to the world and to our fellow beings, as well as to improve and enjoy our personal lives. We all have a great deal to offer the world and to each other, each in our own special and unique way. To a great degree, our own personal sense of well-being is a function of how much we are expressing this. We each have a significant contribution to make in this lifetime. It may involve many things, or it may be something very simple. I call this contribution our higher purpose. It always involves being yourself totally, completely, and naturally, and doing something or many things that you genuinely love to do and that you have a natural gift for. We all know in our hearts what our higher purpose is, but we often do not consciously acknowledge it, even to ourselves. In fact, most people seem to go to great lengths to hide it from themselves and from the world. They fear and seek to avoid the power, responsibility, and light that comes with acknowledging and expressing their true purpose in life. As you use creative visualization, you will find that you become more and more attuned to and aware of your higher purpose. Notice the elements that tend to recur in your dreams, goals, and fantasies, the particular qualities that are there in the things you find yourself doing and creating. These are important clues to the underlying meaning and purpose of your life. In using creative visualization, you will find that your ability to manifest will work to the degree that you are in alignment with your higher purpose. If you try to manifest something and it doesn't seem to work, it may not be appropriate to the underlying pattern and meaning of your life. Be patient and keep tuning into your inner guidance. In retrospect, you will see that everything is unfolding perfectly. This is a time of great transformation on our planet. We all have a part to play, just by being willing to be our true, magnificent selves.
To learn more about Shakti Gawain and her many best-selling books, visit her online at shaktigawain.com. And as I mentioned at the start of the program, if she's positively influenced your life, I encourage you to send an email to her at shakti@newworldlibrary.com. That's SHAKTI at newworldlibrary.com. And I'll be printing those out and sharing them with her to help her along her own healing journey right now. And as always, if you enjoyed today's podcast, your 5-star rating and or review in iTunes would be greatly appreciated and a huge help as we begin to establish ourselves in the crowded podcast marketplace. I'd also like to invite you to join the New World Now podcast community on Facebook, where you can stay up to date on the latest and greatest podcast news. Simply search for New World Now podcast on Facebook to join the group. I hope to see you there and look forward to connecting on future episodes of New World Now.